Alright, you guys, welcome to part 2 of the Awesome Joe's top 10 movies of 2018. And this, part 2, we're going to be talking about the top 10 honorable mentions list. And this is the list that's definitely saying it's not great, although it's not bad. It's just okay. So, and it's pretty much the type of movies that I would really love to have put them in my top 10 loved it list, but instead I saw some different films that happened to have been a lot more better that fit into the top 10, and there was not enough room for the honorable mentions. So that's where I'm going to put them. Now, I want to let all of you guys know that my choices, my top 10 lists, are not set in stone. This is just my opinions, my personal opinions as to what I thought about the movies that I watched throughout the whole entire year. If you guys have a different opinion, please don't feel offended. Just go ahead and leave a comment in the section on the bottom and we can have an awesome conversation regarding towards any of these movies that I picked or any movies that you picked. I mean, we're all entitled to have our own different opinions about every single film that we watch. So I am Awesome Joe, and thank you guys so much for taking the time of your day to having to watch one of my videos. You guys are such a huge inspiration to me for having to do my great and personal hobby, because I love to talk about movies, but more importantly, I love to talk about them with you. So let's go ahead and get started here, y'all, with number 10. Alright, so coming in at number 10, we're going to be talking about Searching. And Searching was a movie that I wasn't really highly anticipated to watch, but when I saw the preview, I right away said, yes, I would love to watch this. I was watching Unfriended Into the Dark Web, I believe that's what it's called. Terrible movie. I mean, I know I didn't put it on my top 10 list, but that's a story for another time. But when we're talking about Searching, a fantastic, wonderful, well put together film. I love on how the movie has such a mystery throughout the whole entire film as to wondering what happened to this man's daughter. Where is she at? Why is she not responding? Why did she call at a certain time? Why did she do these certain things on her profile? Things like that. It was all so interesting, and I love on how everything just gets put together at the end and making it so entertaining, so wonderful. And I really did have a lot of fun with this movie, but not fun enough because it reached up to my number 10 list, which is at the very, very bottom of my most liked movies of 2018. So, but like I said, it's a great film, a very entertaining film to watch, great popcorn film when you go to the movies. But other than that, I feel that Searching is at a more comfortable position of being placed at the number 10 spot. So now let's go ahead and jump on to number 9. You know, I know a lot of people are not going to like this one, but I had a lot of fun with it. But did I feel like the remake was necessary? No. Overboard is at number 9, and this one was really great. This was great. Don't get me wrong, I love the original. I don't really think that the original needed to be remade, but I felt like the movie, even though that it tried to stay true to the original film, that it was making it its own movie as well. There are many, many differences within the movies, but also related to the true aspect of the original story. And I really do admire on how what's his name? Eugenio Debbez? I think my pronunciation is terrible. And I think his name is Eugenio Debbez, and he does fantastic work in having to be this great comedic performance in this movie. He's so funny, he's so wonderful. I've seen him in all of his other films, and he never disappoints me by making me laugh at a movie that he's in. So he did a great job. And having to watch Anna Faris, not a big fan of Anna Faris, but I think that she did well in this movie. Not as great as Kurt Russell did in the original Overboard, but I felt like she did an okay job, but still not a fan, and never looking forward to seeing her in any movies, other than, you know, when she first started in the first 2 Scary Movie films. But other than that, I feel like Overboard is a great film, but not enough to reach up to my top 10 loved it list of 2018. So I feel like it was much more appropriate to leave it at a more comfortable position, which is at number 9. So let's go ahead and jump on to number 8. this movie was so awesome. I loved it. Well, not loved it, but, you know, it was great because I got to go and watch it with my mother. I believe it was for Mother's Day. I'm not sure. But I remember I went to go watch it with my mother, and my mother watched it before I did, but she loved it enough that she wanted to go and watch it again. In which cases, it should have been good because it was a good movie. I didn't like the first film as much as I did love this second film. Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. I love the movie. It's really great. I love on how Lily James portrays the younger version of Meryl Streep's character in the film, and she's a wonderful singer. She's very beautiful. She's very talented, and I feel like she did an amazing job in having to be in this film. Not a big fan of Cher today, but I was a fan of Cher back in the day, and I don't really like her in this film. I know that she sings in a particular song that my mother and most of viewers were very, very fond of. I think, what was it called? I think it was Fernando. Yeah, but I was just like, I don't know what was so special about that song, but credits to you guys for having to love the film because I loved it a lot too. It was a great fun film that I enjoyed very highly well. So Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again at number 8. So now let's go ahead and jump on to number 7. So at number 7 is another film that I went to go watch with my dearly beloved mother because she is just so awesome to hang around with when having to go to the movies, which is Christopher Robin. And I really wanted to watch this movie because I really loved the cartoons on Disney Channel when I was a kid. I think it was on Saturday morning cartoons as well on ABC, and I had a fantastic time having to fall in love with these characters all over again on the big screen in a real life adaptation, and I believe that each and every single one of these characters did a fantastic job looking so realistic, staying true to the character that we all know and love from the original TV show. And I really do admire Ewan McGregor's performance as playing the grown-up version of Christopher Robin. And yes, as we all know, that this story does take place after the TV show where Christopher Robin's all grown up. It's sort of like the same story adaptation of Hook, with Peter Pan all grown up and forgetting about who he is and where he came from. So I really do admire this movie very, very well. It was a lot of fun. My mother didn't believe it to be such a great film. She felt like the movie was a little bit too boring for her. But for me, I had fun with this great and wonderful masterpiece. And I know for a fact that this movie was not so favored by many viewers, but I had fun with it, and I would very much like it if there were a time to where there is a sequel to this film. So Christopher Robin at number 7, and now let's go ahead and jump on to number 6. This was a movie that I was questioning, wondering if I was going to enjoy this movie or not. Crazy Rich Asians is a movie that I very much gave it an opportunity to watch because I love movies that decide to take a different direction on things that we are usually more aware of, and I love and how it's like a same regular type of a love chick flick type of movie, but dealing with a different culture. And I'm very fond of the Asian culture. I believe it to be such a great and fascinating culture, and having to witness the life of these great and wonderful people within this film, played by a lot of great and wonderful actors and actresses. I think that this movie really topped it off very, very well. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I heard that this movie was such a great success that they decided to add some new additions to this franchise. Not just 1 or 2 or 3. I think there's going to be 4 additions to this franchise, and I think that that's a big no-no, because once when you make one great fantastic film that made a lot of money, it does not mean you go off and keep on making more and more and more just so that you could get to that money grabber. You're going to destroy the franchise if you keep that up. So I say just stick, if there's going to be a sequel, stick to 1. Don't add 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. Just stick to 1. So Crazy Rich Asians at number 6. Now let's go ahead and jump on to number 5. movie that did not need to be made, and it was not something that audiences and fans and critics were not asking for, but we got it anyways. Solo, a Star Wars story, is a film that I did not review either this year, and I had several complications during the time as to figuring out what am I going to be doing with this film, because it was so wonderful. It was great of the story being its own individual story, but not connected to the Star Wars canon storyline. And I feel that the character Solo, who's not being portrayed by Harrison Ford because he's a much more older gentleman now, is played by a different actor. I forgot his name, but I think that he does a wonderful portrayal of the character, but in a more different position. Not Harrison Ford's Solo, but a Solo of his own. He made it his own character, and I give him credits to that for having to do such a wonderful, great job. I love the chemistry between Solo and Chewbacca, and how they first met, and how that friendship, that brotherhood develops throughout the movie. It's a great and wonderful film, and I think that actors like Woody Harrelson is such an amazing actor being in this movie. I think that he was not at his best, but it was still a great time to watch. And I love that there is a returning member, a returning character from the prequel trilogy into this. I don't want to spoil it because it's such a wonderful surprise for me, because he's one of my favorite characters within the Star Wars saga. So at number 5, I give Solo, a Star Wars story. Now let's go ahead and jump on to number 4. 14 years we have waited, and then we finally get this amazing sequel, The Incredibles 2. And I liked the first Incredibles film. It was great. It was fun. I had a lot of fun with it. I didn't have any issues with it at all. It's not my favorite Pixar movie of all time. And I can see how people could say that this is a much more better adaptation of the Fantastic Four than the Fantastic Four characters and storyline itself. But I think that they did an amazing job with The Incredibles 2, even having to wait after 14 years. I don't know why they had to wait that long, but the story takes place immediately right after the first film, and I find that the movie is such an entertaining film to take your kids, take the family to go out and watch. So at number 4 is Incredibles 2. Now let's go ahead and jump on to number 3. I know you guys are going to get upset with me on this one. At number 3, A Star is Born, because most people love it. Don't get me wrong, I love the movie myself too. I think it was fun. I think it was fantastic. I love the chemistry between Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. I think Bradley Cooper, within the movie and directing altogether, was just a fantastic and amazing job. I really do admire this movie to being such a wonderful masterpiece. And I know that it's been remade several times, and have been massive failures, but from what I can tell, when it comes to A Star is Born, these two wonderful people really made a brilliant piece of work. It's so awesome. It's so great. It's such a fantastic film to watch. I do regret not having to watch this film in theaters, but I did get the opportunity to watch it, and I got the opportunity to love it. So but yet it's not loved enough to be on the top 10 loved it list. So at number 3 is A Star is Born, and I'm looking forward to seeing Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, working, some different projects, because I think that those two were such a wonderful combination. So let's go ahead and jump on to number 2, because I'm really excited to talk about number 2 and number 1. At number 2 is Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. Even though I'm not a big fan of the first Fantastic Beasts film, I just recently watched both of these films back to back, and I completely love this franchise. Because Crimes of Grindelwald is a film that really brought me back into the Wizarding world. Because I left the Wizarding world when Harry Potter's chapters were finally finished, and part of my great collection of movies. That we returned to this Wizarding world back in the 1920s. It's a prequel series, a five film set. Crimes of Grindelwald is the second book, the second film to this 5-part series, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what's to come in the next 3 films. And I love the fact and how this really confused a lot of fans and audiences about the ending. I was okay with it. I loved it. The ending is what really got me out of my seat and loved this film. It's so wonderful. That's what really that's what really gets me so anticipated and wanting to know what happens next. So The Crimes of Grindelwald at number 2. Now let's go ahead and jump on to the one that we've all been waiting for at number 1. At number 1 is the first film that I watched within the year of 2018, The Maze Runner, The Death Cure. This movie took a little bit of time to make because of Dylan O'Brien's injury within making of the film, and it was released 2 years after the first film, and I feel like this movie did a wonderful, fantastic job having it to being the climactic conclusion to this 3-book series. And it was just fantastic. I love all the characters. I love the story. It's a movie that I could say is one of my favorites. I love this trilogy. Such a wonderful set piece. I really do hope that there are no further books or further books that explain more of the story within the aftermath of the original trilogy, or going to a prequel set of films. I just think that it's much more satisfying just having just these 3 incredible movies all in one. So at number 1, I give Maze Runner, The Death Cure at first place. So Awesome Joe, and that is my top 10 honorable mentions list of 2018. What do you guys think? You guys can always leave a comment in the section at the bottom, and we can have an awesome conversation regarding towards these movies or any other movies that you guys would like to talk about in general. And don't forget that you could always look me up at YouTube or on Facebook at Awesome Joe. And as always, you guys, stay awesome. Thanks you guys so much, and stay tuned for my top 10 loved it list of 2018. See you guys next time, and I'll see y'all there in the next video. Bye.